My husband seems like he's heartbroken. For 3 nights in a row. Every evening he hugs his phone, reading his chats with his little girlfriend and silently shedding tears. I just came back from a date with my little boyfriend. Seeing him, I leaned in with a proud smile and whispered in his ear, "Did you break up? Haha. Mine hasn't broken up with me yet." The next second, I received a breakup text from my little boyfriend. Chapter 1. After seeing the message from my little boyfriend, I lay on the sofa crying like a dog. My 190 centimeters tall, 6-pack hunk of a college boy, and he even had 1/4 British blood. Just thinking about how I'd never get to kiss that handsome mouth again, I cried even louder. Sitting across from me on the sofa, Hugh looked at me for a long while, frowning slightly. "What did you just whisper in my ear?" I froze, immediately forcing back my sobs. I'd already lost my little boyfriend, but I couldn't afford to lose my billionaire husband, so I quietly shook my head. I didn't say anything. Hugh glanced at my figure lying on the sofa and said nothing more. The next second, I heard him stepping upstairs in his slippers, and only then dared to cry out loud again. Back then, I didn't dare tell my parents I was in a relationship. Now, I don't dare tell my husband I'm in one. Women, our whole lives are full of regrets. Chapter 2. Hugh and I have known each other for 7 years. From high school until after we graduated college. Right after graduation, we walked straight into marriage. All of our classmates said we were the perfect example of campus love reaching its happy ending. But no one knew that in our 3 years of marriage, Hugh had been cheating for 2.5. The other woman was a new intern at his company. Ever since I accidentally saw her Instagram post, Hugh with her in City A watching fireworks, passionately kissing with a caption, "I can't openly stand by your side, but I can completely occupy your heart." That's when I knew I'd been cheated on. Mistresses these days even have poetic lines ready. That day, I shamefully cried for a long time. In the end, I chose to like and follow her. Later, when Hugh went to shower, he forgot to lock his phone. That's when I learned the girl's name was Jennifer, fresh out of college. That night, I scrolled through Jennifer's Instagram over 3,000 times. After being with Hugh, her posts became even more frequent, almost one every day, either skiing with Hugh or checking in at 5-star restaurants, with Hugh gifting her necklaces and jewelry. And during those same days, Hugh told me he was on a business trip in City S. When he came back, he even brought me a gift, a gemstone hairpin, a freebie given with a luxury purchase. Looking at Hugh about to head into the bathroom, I cried and said I wanted to be a mistress too. Hugh coldly stared, then after a long silence frowned and sneered, "Victoria, what nonsense are you spouting again?" The words were on the tip of my tongue, but then I thought of the living allowance he gave me every month, and swallowed them back. I could only return to my room, tail between my legs. Chapter 3. Later, when my best friend Ruby, who's a lawyer, found out, she told me that everything Hugh bought for Jennifer was purchased using marital assets. I felt cheated, so I turned around and found myself a little boyfriend online. He was sweet-looking and very strong. The first time I took him from his university to a hotel, he had more than enough strength and skill. I got hooked after that. After all, ever since Hugh started cheating, he had suggested we sleep in separate rooms, and a 26-year-old woman is at the peak of her sinful thoughts. To reward my little boyfriend, I imitated Hugh. I bought an apartment, a little golden cage to hide my darling canary. The moment Hugh left the house, I'd drive over to the apartment to see my little canary. The little canary was perfect in every way, except he was too capable. We broke 2 beds already. The furniture shop owner even knew me by now. She always looked at me with envious eyes. He could even cook every time I stepped through the door. I'd see him wearing nothing but an apron, busy in the kitchen, a thin, sexy sheen of sweat on his superior back muscles. Every inch of him radiated the scent of hormones. Everything was wonderful. Hugh and I each had our own happiness. When my best friend found out, she only sighed. The 4 of you living your lives well is better than anything else. Chapter 4. Until 3 days ago, Hugh started coming home often again, sitting on the sofa, frowning at his phone. I even saw a glimmer in his eyes, combined with Jennifer's new Instagram posts. I knew he was heartbroken. But I didn't mind. I still dressed up innocently sweet every day to go on dates with my little boyfriend, coming back with smudged lipstick and a rumpled dress. Hugh didn't even glance at me. To me, he looked utterly devastated. I didn't comfort him. I was afraid if he fell for me again, it would be troublesome. After all, right now I only had my little boyfriend in my heart. So when I came home today and saw him like that, I thoughtfully played a song called After I Leave. Then I went to the bathroom to chat with my little boyfriend, while putting on an expensive facial mask. When I came back out, Hugh still looked the same. My mouth slipped. I leaned in and whispered in his ear, "She doesn't want you anymore." While crying my heart out, I sent a message to my best friend. He wants to cut things off with me. I'm so heartbroken. I heard eating yogurt and fried chicken together is poisonous. I already have yogurt. Just missing fried chicken. Ava replied with one word, savage. I don't even want to expose you. Are you really heartbroken? I screenshotted my little boyfriend's breakup message and sent it to her. Really broke up? Forget it. Just find another one next time. Fine. I'll order you some fried chicken. Tearfully, I ate the fried chicken. Then I went upstairs, turned on the Harman Kardon speaker in the bathroom, and played a song. While showering, I felt more sentimental than a dog, and cried again. Just as I opened the bathroom door, I saw Hugh sitting in the armchair, holding a paper document. His gaze paused slightly on my reddened eyes. You've been crying? Why? I sighed. I was thinking of my grandma. He was speechless, seeing me cry so pitifully. A trace of softness flickered in his eyes. In a few days, I'll go with you to visit her. Don't cry. I nodded. Hugh seemed like he wanted to say something, but seeing me like that, he only frowned and left. I breathed a sigh of relief and called my little boyfriend. Can we not break up? On the other end, his magnetic voice carried a touch of anger. Not break up? What? Do you want your husband to support me? I thought for a moment. If he's already supporting one, then supporting two, even three, isn't impossible. As if sensing my thoughts, Oliver laughed angrily. You wish. This master isn't going to be anyone's side lover. My eyes turned red. Men are fickle. Just 3 hours ago, he was calling me sister and baby. Now he was calling himself this master. Chapter 5. Early the next morning, I opened my phone. Oliver had sent me a video. In the sunlight, he was shirtless, doing crunches on gym equipment. I didn't know what he meant by that, so I just sent a single question mark. He didn't reply. A strange emptiness flashed through my heart. I lost the mood to pick out clothes. I just threw on a loose knitted cardigan set, with a white tank top inside. When I came downstairs, to my surprise Hugh still hadn't gone to the office. I glanced at the time. It was already 10 o'clock. Seeing me dressed like that, Hugh raised an eyebrow. I ignored him, my mind full of Oliver's crunches. Distractedly, I poked at the black truffle fried rice in my bowl until it turned to mush. Finally, Hugh noticed something was wrong. What's the matter with you? My voice was listless. I almost burst into tears. Nothing. Maybe he sensed I wasn't in a good mood. Or maybe he finally remembered that a few days ago was our wedding anniversary. That day, he had gone to the hot springs with Jennifer. Didn't come back all night. I only vaguely remembered it when I saw the calendar. But none of that mattered anymore. A flicker of guilt passed through Hugh's eyes. There's nothing important at the company today. Why don't I take you to an auction at noon? I sighed. Might as well spend. Love was gone, but at least I could still have money. On the way to the auction, Hugh drove. I didn't look at him, just stared blankly out the window, thinking of every little moment with Oliver. Tears streamed down my face. He was so capable. How could I let go? Now I finally knew what heartbreak felt like. But with my husband sitting right next to me, I didn't dare cry out loud. There was no music playing in the car. I wiped my tears, worried I wouldn't be able to hold it in and Hugh would notice. So I connected my phone to Bluetooth and played Happy Breakup. Hugh froze. What's wrong with you? I really did forget our wedding anniversary that day. I sighed. It's nothing. I just keep thinking about my grandma lately. Hugh looked puzzled. If you're thinking of your grandma, why are you listening to this song? I didn't explain, and he didn't keep pressing. When we got to the auction, I raised the paddle again and again, buying plenty of things. When I got home, I collapsed into bed and fell asleep. Chapter 6. In the middle of the night, Oliver sent me a message. Sister, I miss you. I rubbed my eyes, changed clothes and went to the apartment. When I arrived, Oliver looked at me with eyes full of heartache. He had lost some weight himself, his jawline sharper, his eyes were red, looking pitiful as ever. He didn't say anything, just pulled me tightly into his arms. It was my fault. I shook my head, looking at his handsome face so close. My fingers traced up along the hem of his shirt. He took a deep breath, a bit helpless. His beautiful thin lips moved. Do you really like me, or just my body? I didn't even hear what he was saying. I stood on my toes and kissed him. I had been heartbroken, and now I was reconciled. So a few days later, I was radiant with joy, but then I saw Hugh sitting on the sofa, frowning deeply, his expression dark, eyes full of sympathy. My husband was heartbroken, and I was in love. Seeing him like that, I thought of the generous living allowance he gave me every year. I sighed, stepped forward, and patted his shoulder. Just as I was about to comfort him a little, I noticed what he was holding in his hand. It was my phone. On the screen, Oliver's video was playing, him shirtless, doing crunches. Nothing is scarier than the sudden silence in the air. Hugh's face was ugly as sin, and he raised his head to stare at me coldly. My head was about to explode. No wonder they say the key to maintaining a good marriage is, don't look at each other's phones. I could only be grateful he hadn't seen my chat with my best friend. Otherwise his face would have been even darker. The reason I'd never checked Hugh's phone all these years was because I was afraid he'd check mine. At that moment, my phone chimed again, a new message from Oliver, a photo of him wearing a black leather Joker choker. Hugh was about to open his mouth. I quickly snatched the phone away and sent Oliver a voice message. Stop sending me messages. I don't need a male model. Hugh looked at my flushed face, frowning slightly. A male model? I nodded. Luna's new bar opened. I went to support it and accidentally spilled something on his clothes. So I added him on WeChat to transfer the money. I had only been away from my phone for 1 minute. I bet Hugh hadn't scrolled up. Hugh didn't say anything. He just stared at me for a long time. His gaze fell on the photo of us together on the cabinet behind me. As if remembering something. Don't randomly add people anymore. I nodded perfunctorily, watching him pick up his coat and leave. Chapter 7. As soon as the car left, I immediately called Oliver. He picked up quickly, but his magnetic voice carried a gnashing edge. Victoria, who the hell are you calling a male model? I could only coax him, calling him baby again and again. After a long while, I finally calmed him down. Baby, I want to see you now. Aw, man, just a moment ago he was calling me Victoria. I lowered my head and saw Jennifer's new Instagram post. In the photo, it was Oliver's car. He probably wouldn't be going home tonight. I nodded. Then let's go to the apartment. He seemed upset again. So the apartment is all I deserve? In the end, Oliver and I went to a 5-star hotel. Then we ate at a Chinese restaurant downtown. The private room was separated by folding screens. After I finished ordering, I suddenly heard Hugh's voice behind the screen. Along with his friends, Luna went to the bar again. You have no idea. That bar is full of male models. I heard that when it opened. Sister-in-law also went. Hugh nodded. She even added one on WeChat. Lu Fong, and you can tolerate that? Hugh's voice was lazy. She wouldn't. Lu Fong sighed. True. You've been together for 7 years. She loves you to death. There's no way she'd be like you. After saying that, he seemed to realize he'd slipped. So he added, but what if she finds out about you and Jennifer? I heard the sound of Hugh raising his glass. No worries. Her parents have both passed away. Without me, she's got nowhere to go. On the other side, they seemed to have started eating. I lowered my head. In a daze, I remembered back in our final year of high school, when my parents passed away. Hugh worried I might do something, so he followed me everywhere. Later, when I said I wanted to board at school, Hugh carried my suitcase and wash basin to the dormitory building. That day, it rained. His pant legs were soaked through. He said, Victoria, I'll treat you well for the rest of my life. Later, 2 boys in class laughed and asked me, "Hey, Victoria, what's it like to have your parents die?" My mom said maybe you cursed them. The loss of family left endless rain in my heart. But their words stabbed me deeply. Somehow Hugh found out what happened that day. He went after those 2 boys and fought them like his life depended on it. Say something about her parents again. I dare you. Back then, that young man understood how much I hurt inside. But now, the one stabbing me with the sharpest knife was him. At that moment, Oliver stood up. I quickly grabbed his hand. His eyes were red with anger, his handsome face full of grievance. Sister, you're still protecting him? What's so good about him? Is he more handsome than me? Can he foo? I slapped my hand over his mouth. But instinctively, he took my fingertip into his mouth. I let out a little gasp, quickly shutting my lips, nervously glancing toward the screen. Behind the screen came Hugh's scornful laugh. Yufengton really lets anyone in these days. After that, he and Lu Fong got up and left. Clearly, he hadn't recognized my voice, though just before leaving, he hesitated outside the curtain for a second. I breathed a sigh of relief. Oliver, however, looked pitiful. So I'm that shameful? I shot him a look. What do you think? He coughed lightly, raising his chin a little. The real mistress is the one who isn't loved. This line happened to be overheard by the waiter lifting the curtain to serve dishes. His eyes widened. He deliberately slowed his movements, but when he saw Oliver and I staying silent, he finally left. Disappointed, I pinched Oliver's hand. Keep your voice down. Is that something to brag about? Oliver blushed, as if realizing something. He lowered his head slightly and said, I'm just degrading myself. Chapter 8. That night, Hugh called me. After finding out I was at home, he hurriedly hung up. For some inexplicable reason, he transferred me a huge sum of money. I accepted it without the slightest psychological burden. On Instagram, Jennifer posted a new update. From now on, we'll be a family of 3. I opened the picture. It was Hugh accompanying her late at night for a prenatal checkup. Just as I was about to exit, Jennifer sent me a private message. I know you saw it. These posts, only you can see them. Strange though. All these years you've watched and never demanded a divorce. A pity. Really, he's already promised to divorce you. I sneered and forwarded all those posts and screenshots to Hugh. Might as well strike first. After all, I had already planned to file for divorce. And with the divorce agreement my best friend drafted, the terms were naturally more favorable to me. Let's divorce. I've already prepared the divorce papers. I'll have them sent to you later. Assets split half and half. Hugh only said one word. Fine. Chapter 9. It was then that Oliver messaged me. A photo of him in swim trunks by the pool, water droplets sliding from his hair down his chest. Continuing lower. I was just about to reply when he quickly withdrew it. Sorry. Sent it to the wrong person. Sent wrong? Who was he originally sending it to? I miss you, sister. So I simply sent him an address. Then come over. He replied, into your house. Wouldn't that be bad? I was busy going to shower. So I urged him, whatever. It's up to you. When I came out of the bathroom, the doorbell rang every few moments. I went downstairs to open the door. Standing there was Oliver, in a black hoodie. The neighbor across the street opened his gate. Oliver immediately slipped inside and locked my gate. I was speechless. The moment he entered, he pressed his lips urgently against mine. I couldn't breathe under his kiss, managing to say in broken words, upstairs. By the time he tugged down the strap of my nightgown, Chapter 10. Footsteps suddenly sounded outside the door. I quickly put on a knitted shawl and saw Hugh's car parked downstairs. Oliver seemed to realize who it was and moved toward the balcony. I hurriedly pulled him back. If the neighbors saw, what would they think? His shirt was already messy. One glance and anyone would know what had happened. If it got posted online, I'd be famous for all the wrong reasons. Thinking it over, he quickly turned and hid inside the wardrobe. He moved so fast I couldn't stop him before he shut the door. He even whispered reassuringly, Baby, I won't let you get in trouble. I was speechless, and what was with that grievance in his eyes? When Hugh walked in and saw me like this, his brows knitted. What happened to your neck? I muttered vaguely. Mosquito bite. Hugh didn't say anything. Suddenly, a thud came from inside the wardrobe. Hugh's face filled with suspicion. Someone inside? If Oliver had just sat openly, I wouldn't have panicked. But he had darted into the wardrobe. Now if he got caught, it'd be mortifying beyond words. Besides, Hugh hadn't even signed the divorce papers yet. I stammered. No, nobody. Why would there be? Hugh didn't believe me. He strode forward and yanked the wardrobe open. Inside, Oliver stood in a slightly sheer white shirt, a fine layer of sweat on his forehead. One glance, and it was anything but innocent. I slapped my forehead, stammering, "He's here to fix the pipes." Hugh clearly didn't believe it. Then why hide in the wardrobe? I looked at the safe above his head. After fixing the pipes, he can also repair the safe. There was a small safe inside the wardrobe. Hugh knew that. For now, he said nothing, but his gaze lingered on the wet hem of Oliver's shirt. Oliver stepped out of the wardrobe. Already tall as he was, when Hugh had first walked in, he'd been cautious. Now, caught red-handed, he instead stood with lofty posture before him. "That's right, old man. I came to fix the pipes. See? Too much water. My clothes got soaked." When he smiled, it was infuriatingly cheeky. I couldn't tell if he was doing it on purpose. My face flushed red as I hurriedly pulled Hugh out of the room. Hugh reminded me to send the guy away soon. Then he handed me the divorce papers. He had already signed. Of course, she was pregnant now, wasn't she? Even if he didn't want to, Jennifer wouldn't let this chance slip. "Victoria, I've wronged you. She's pregnant. I can't let the child grow up without a father like I did." How noble. I almost wanted to applaud him. Such a sense of responsibility. "Fine, you can go." He froze for a moment, as if surprised at my calm. Seeing that I had no intention of saying more, he hesitated, seeming like he wanted to explain something. But then his phone rang, and he had no choice but to leave. Fuming, I pushed the door open. There was Oliver, shirtless, standing dripping wet at the bathroom door. That's when I remembered the bathroom pipes really were broken. This boy was the real deal. Oliver walked over and scooped me up into the bathroom, smiling at the corner of his lips. "Sister, there's nothing of his in this room." I immediately understood his little thought, so I nodded in agreement. When the villa was renovated, he was already cheating, so this room is mine alone. Back then, we were already living separately. The little wolf dog's eyes lit up, turning on the shower. His gaze deepened with joy as he looked at me. "So, baby, you've always been mine alone." Chapter 11. When Hugh contacted me again, it was 3 days later. "Are you free tomorrow afternoon? Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to change the certificate." I was still chatting with Oliver, but I immediately agreed. Sure. When we came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, he was on the phone with Jennifer. I vaguely heard Jennifer asking about the property division. When she learned it was 50-50, her voice instantly grew louder. I sneered and didn't bother listening further. As I opened the car door to leave, Hugh, face pale, grabbed my hand. He forced out a sentence. "Victoria, are you also?" On his phone screen was a photo Jennifer had sent him, a picture of me and Oliver together. I nodded. "Yes. I learned from you." Hugh stepped back 2 paces, his expression ugly, unable to speak for a long time, until I grew impatient and shook off his hand. His eyes turned slightly red. "So, you're with him just to get back at me?" I thought carefully for a moment, then shook my head. "It's because I like him," though that thought had crossed my mind at first. It vanished quickly. Hugh seemed unable to accept my answer. The last flicker of hope in his eyes also disappeared. "Victoria, you're ruthless." Then he added, "Don't regret it." I pulled open the car door. I'll never regret it. A few days later, our university and high school classmates sent me photos of invitations. On them was the news of Hugh and Jennifer's wedding. "You two divorced?" "Victoria, no way. Hugh's marrying someone else?" I turned off my phone without replying to each message. I packed up and went traveling to Country Y with Oliver. Oliver was overjoyed. The moment we arrived at the hotel, he pressed me down on the bed, kissing me passionately. He buried his head in my neck, but suddenly stopped at the next step, looking at me pitifully. "Sister, can I leave, Marks?" I had originally wanted to tell him about the divorce, but seeing him act so much like a little pretentious coquette right now, I closed my mouth and nodded. With my permission. He seemed even more delighted. He went at it fiercely. Tears welled in my eyes. I wanted to kick him off, but had no strength left at all. At 23 or 24, his energy was truly boundless. Lowering his head, biting my earlobe as he moved harder. "Sister, am I amazing?" Looking into his lively eyes, I stubbornly replied, "That's it?" His face darkened immediately. He didn't stop until dawn. My lips were swollen from all the kissing. I wanted to cry but had no tears. Oliver's eyes were full of satisfaction. "Sister, being young really is better, right? That old man could never satisfy you." Old man, he meant Hugh? He's only 27. Forget it. I didn't dare talk back anymore, letting him take me to the bathroom to clean up. We spent a week in Country Y. Oliver took plenty of photos of me, and photos of us together. I was scrolling through my best friend's new post. It was her going public with her boyfriend. Oliver sighed, muttering to himself, "Guess I'm just not worthy." I was speechless. Chapter 12. After the plane landed, Oliver clung to me, reluctant to part. I rolled my eyes and simply let him drive me home. These past few days Oliver had been like he was on some kind of stimulant. I was still weak in the legs. Oliver hesitated. Wouldn't this be not so good? Looking at his devastatingly handsome face, I rolled my eyes again. What could be bad about it? Oliver had no choice but to get in the car. I was so exhausted that the moment I sat down, I closed my eyes. Just before drifting off, I saw Oliver driving, sometimes with worry on his face, sometimes with determination in his eyes, sometimes with a smug smile at his lips. When we reached the villa, half asleep, I got out of the car, dragged my suitcase inside. Oliver glanced around, made sure no one was there, then lowered the window. "Sister, you still haven't said you love me." "What a lovesick fool," I perfunctorily said. Love you, now go." Hearing my hurried tone, a shadow of gloom crossed his eyes. He nodded, only leaving once he saw me shut the door. Chapter 13. I rested at the villa for a few days. Then my best friend sent me a video. In it, Oliver, face cold, was racing a gray McLaren on a mountain road. "Your little canary turns out to be a little wolf dog, Victoria." I just asked the club owner. He's the only son of the Chin family. He saw me. I lowered my gaze. In City A, there weren't many who didn't know the Chin family. I thought of how, all these years, he'd worn faded sneakers in front of me, looking at the message Oliver Chin had just sent me. I didn't reply. He called me several times, but I didn't answer, until I came down with a fever at home, and sent a message to my best friend. But instead of her, Oliver showed up. He was drenched all over. In his arms was a small plastic bag. He fed me medicine, then cooked porridge. Only after I fell asleep in a haze did he leave. The next day, I saw a dozen little essay-like posts from him, all apologies for hiding his true identity. I thought about it. At the beginning, I hadn't told him about Hugh either. After all, at first I had only seen him as my little canary. But now, with who he really was, naturally we weren't suitable. As I hesitated, Hugh called me. "Sister, don't abandon me. I'm fine with being the side lover, as long as I'm in your heart." My voice was hoarse. I didn't know how to respond. That same day, he posted a status. "Without you by my side, I'm in so much pain." Attached was a photo of him lying on black bedding, the corners of his eyes faintly red. My heart softened instantly. I drove to the apartment, softly opening the door. I walked into the bedroom. Oliver was already asleep, hugging my favorite pillow. I bent down, pressed a kiss to his lips, then lay down beside him. As if catching my scent, he let go of the pillow and wrapped his arms around my waist. Chapter 14. The next morning when I woke up, Oliver was still asleep. I took my phone and sent him a picture of my divorce certificate. Just as I set the phone down, I saw him wake up. When he saw me, his eyes lit up with joy. "Victoria." He seemed unusually happy. After carrying me to the sink to wash up, he went to the kitchen to make breakfast. Only after we'd eaten did he slowly open his phone. The grin on his face almost reached the back of his head. He spun me around a few times and kissed me fiercely before stopping. I sat on the sofa watching TV and heard Oliver calling one of his close friends. I can hardly breathe right now. Oliver, don't scare me. Tell me your address. I'll come pick you up right away. Oliver's tone was cheeky. No, it's because my girlfriend divorced her husband. I can finally be out in the open. The other side was silent for a long time. Bro, you were the side lover? Oliver grinned. Don't make it sound so ugly. I was the side lover for love. I rolled my eyes at his smug tone. The guy on the phone was clearly speechless too. Is there really a difference? Oliver scoffed. Of course. Oliver, she really divorced for you? Bro, don't you think this isn't so great? Before he could finish, Oliver hung up. Chapter 15. A few days later, a woman claiming to be Oliver's mother called me, asking to meet at a cafe. I frowned. In my head, I was already imagining a scene where she offered me $5 million to leave Oliver, so I cautiously went to the appointed cafe and sat down. Before long, a well-dressed, elegant woman sat across from me. She pulled out a check. The words of refusal were already at my lips. Auntie, Oliver and I are truly in love. But at that moment, she spoke. Take this $50 million. I froze. Auntie, actually we're not that in love. I'll explain things clearly to Oliver. With a family background like the Cheens, I had already anticipated our ending when I learned Oliver's true identity. The wealthy lady was briefly stunned. Explain what? This is compensation for your loss. I'm truly sorry. It's my fault for not raising him well. That he went astray, seducing you. Don't worry. If you ever have any requests, just tell us. Our family owes you this. I was dumbfounded. I quickly explained. Auntie, no, it's my fault. She cut me off. Don't blame yourself. Let me be honest. 4 years ago, his father accidentally saw his notebook. That's when we found out he planned to be a side lover for love. And he even wrote notes about it. His father beat him badly. We thought he'd given up. Never thought he'd succeed in the end. Such shame on our family. I froze, still processing her words. 4 years ago? Oliver and I hadn't even met then. Before I could sort it out, Oliver arrived, wearing a black suit straight from work, dark bangs slightly damp. When he saw the check on the table, the panic in his eyes vanished. He rushed over and stuffed the check into my bag. Mom, I'm telling you, I will never break up with Victoria. The elegant lady looked utterly exasperated. Before she could say another word, Oliver grabbed my hand and pulled me away. He shoved me into the car. Chapter 16. He brought me to his company. As the employees whispered around us, Oliver held my hand tightly and introduced my girlfriend. Officially, the HR manager passing by looked utterly confused. Turning to the people behind him, he asked, "Did I just say something?" They all shook their heads. Oliver led me into his office. Just as I hesitated, wanting to ask him about what his mother had said earlier, he impatiently locked the door, pinned me against it, and kissed me passionately. Only after a long while did he reach out to wipe the dampness from my lips. Then he turned into the lounge behind. When he came out again, his fingers were hooked around a brand new uniform, a white blouse, a pencil skirt, black stockings. My eyes widened, and he leaned close to my ear, whispering, "Sister, will you put it on?" What? Who knew he liked to play this wild? Under his intense gaze, his handsome face shadowed by the subtle bob of his Adam's apple, I had no choice but to take the clothes into the lounge. When I came out, I felt utterly uncomfortable all over. Oliver sat with long legs crossed, upper body lazily resting against the black leather office chair. When he saw me, his eyes darkened. He got up, lifted me onto the bed in the lounge, tugged at his tie, and then just did it. Darling, I've been thinking about this for so long. I remembered how I had once bought him plenty of wolf-ear costumes, black chains. Back then, his face flushed bright red. I thought he was shy, and had even teased him more actively. But now, it seemed clear that boy had been provoked all along. Hadn't he? What an actor. As for that check, I still returned it to Oliver, telling him to give it back to his mother. Chapter 17. By the time we got home, it was already dark. When Oliver and I got out of the car, there were still bold red marks on my neck. His back had probably been scratched by me as well. Youth really is full of energy. Just as we were about to go upstairs, an unexpected figure appeared in front of us. It was Hugh. When he saw me, his face turned ugly. Compared to the confident man he used to be, now he carried nothing but defeat all over him. Back then, I was the one who stood by him to establish Malcorp when the company was on track. Because of my health issues, I had to resign and stay home to recover. But just a few months later, Hugh cheated. After the divorce, I took away half of the Jennifer assets. Those things had always rightfully been mine. On the day of his wedding, I had all the photos and private messages Jennifer had sent me over the years displayed at their ceremony. Many of Hugh's clients, as well as influential figures in their circle, not to mention the classmates Jennifer had invited out of vanity, all saw it, knowing she was the mistress but still insisting on climbing up. How could she expect to enjoy her position in comfort? I may no longer care about Hugh, but that didn't mean I was some saint. After divorcing Hugh, I started a new company. It was still in its early stages, but with my previous business skills and industry knowledge, it had already begun to stabilize. Being in the same field, and both in City A. Naturally, I heard a lot about Hugh. After the marriage, Jennifer claimed pregnancy required care, so she brought her parents to live in the villa. I heard that not long ago, Jennifer's father even took all of Hugh's treasured watches and gave them away to relatives and friends. Hugh quarreled with Jennifer over it, but Jennifer blamed him instead, saying he had already given me half his fortune. So what were a few watches to her father? The two ended in a bitter fight. There were probably more things I didn't know, but when my best friend mentioned it, I didn't say much. After all, none of that had anything to do with me anymore. Victoria. His voice was hoarse. I regret it. Jennifer's child isn't mine. She deliberately got herself pregnant to force me into marriage. I've already divorced her. I don't mind your past with Oliver. Can't we start over? Let's live a good life together again. These days, all I think about is our past. Do you remember? You loved the wontons at the school gate. Let's go back there together, okay? I almost laughed in disbelief. What makes you think I'd go back to you? Hugh, when you were cheating, did you ever think about those 7 years? He didn't speak, but his eyes reddened. I was just looking for a thrill at the time. The one I've always loved is you. My face twisted in disgust. Forget it. At that moment, Oliver wrapped his arm around my waist. Sorry, but she has me now. Hugh's face flushed red as he glared at Oliver. You shameless brat. Oliver shrugged. You're the one who gave me the chance. Hugh's lips turned pale. Victoria, I know I was wrong. I know I betrayed you first. But can't we really start over? I investigated his identity. You think a family like the Cheens will really let you in? I cut him off. None of that has anything to do with you. Hugh, no matter what, my future will never include you again. With that, I pulled Oliver's hand and walked inside. Chapter 18. After Hugh divorced Jennifer, she still often came by with her family. To avoid her, Hugh had to stay at an overseas branch office for half a year. Everyone said Hugh had poor judgment for cheating with a woman like that. Some even gossiped and asked me, Miss Vic, you're so beautiful. Hugh Mao must have been blind to actually divorce you. I didn't respond. By then, my company was already on track, able to rival Malcorp at its peak. When I got home, I unexpectedly found a diamond ring in the pocket of Oliver's coat. It seemed it had been fondled often, the velvet box showing marks on its surface. I chuckled softly, but I didn't feel any urge to push him away because of it. That night, when Oliver caught sight of the diamond ring at my fingertip in the middle of passion, a look of surprise flashed through his eyes. His gaze suddenly misting. Wife, baby, accompanied by a fervent kiss. When his family and friends found out, none of them said a word. After all, Oliver's lovesick obsession had already become infamous during this time. He was mocked as a latecomer who rose to the top because he fought and grabbed for it. Chapter 19. On the day Oliver and I married, I received an anonymous gift. It was a jar of artificial fireflies and a deed of asset transfer. On it were the words, dowry. The boy who had accompanied me to see fireflies at 17 was long gone. The one who delivered the items for him was a classmate of mine and Hugh's. He hesitated before saying, "He hugs your photo every day abroad," drinking himself into a stupor when he heard you were getting married. He nearly got into a car accident. I told him to return everything. It was best to never have any entanglement in this life again. Beside me, Oliver's face was sour with jealousy. "Sister, I have things to give you too, more than him." After saying that, his lawyer handed me a stack of transfer deeds and asset certificates, all under his name, including 30% of Chin Corp's shares. He pressed my hand down to sign. Chapter 20. When the wedding ceremony ended, I returned to a room in the Chin family's old estate. As I was putting things on the nightstand, I opened the drawer and saw a notebook. On the cover it read, "Oliver's Guide to Climbing Up." After reading what was inside, I was both amused and speechless. Oliver came out of the bathroom, his ears red enough to drip blood. "No wonder you got beaten." I chuckled softly. He stepped forward, pulling me onto his lap. Naturally, I wrapped my arms around his neck. "Oliver, when exactly did you fall in love with me?" He lowered his head, looking at me seriously. "The first time I saw you, in your junior year, when you got hit by a basketball." I blinked. At that time, indeed, a few freshmen were playing ball. I had accidentally been struck on the shoulder, and a few boys rushed up to apologize. One of them had even taken me to the infirmary. Suddenly, Oliver's face flashed in my mind. So it had been him who took me there. He cleared his throat lightly, then flipped me down onto the bed. As for what came after, I had already read it in his notebook. How he deliberately dressed up but pretended to be poor when standing before me. How he added me on WeChat. Oliver didn't give me the chance to think it through. His fingers interlocked with mine firmly. After the haze of passion, I heard him say, "I love you." Extra story, Oliver. Chapter 1. The first time Oliver saw Victoria was when David's basketball hit her. He hurried forward with his teammates to apologize. There she was, Victoria, in a gray pleated skirt and a white sleeveless blouse. The girl had long straight black hair, gentle and devastatingly beautiful. He froze for a moment, while the others rushed to apologize. He immediately escorted her to the infirmary. When he went to the convenience store to buy an ice pack and came back, Victoria was gone. Later, he searched Victoria's profile on the campus network. That's how he learned she already had a boyfriend. That night, he tossed and turned, unable to sleep, and finally decided to be a side lover for love. So he carefully drafted a whole plan. But Father Chin discovered it, beat him up, and even got him psychological counseling. When Oliver Chin hesitated and returned to school days later, he learned Victoria and her boyfriend had started a company together. They no longer came back often, coinciding with internship season. No one questioned it. When he found Victoria, he saw her and her boyfriend laughing intimately in a restaurant. People around them said they were a perfect couple, but he thought, if it were him, he would be an even better match. He secretly left comments on Victoria's Instagram, but she gently declined. Chapter 2. A year and a half later, he accidentally saw Victoria's boyfriend kissing another woman passionately. He deliberately investigated, learning they were already married, and that man had cheated. He dug out his old guide to climbing up, secretly befriended her in a game, greeting her every day, chatting, online romance, meeting offline. Chapter 3. After being with Victoria, every time she came over, he deliberately didn't wear a shirt. He learned to cook. The goal was to make her see how much better he was than that cheating man, to let him stay in this home. People say, what's too easily gained will never be cherished. Oliver tested her by suggesting a breakup. He regretted it the moment he sent it, but he didn't want to remain in such a role with her any longer. He wanted to rise up. Sure enough, Victoria panicked. He knew what she loved most, so he sent her videos. In the end, he gave in. Chapter 4. His conscience accused him, but he knew he was debasing himself, and yet he enjoyed it, until he learned Victoria was divorced. He was overjoyed. Naturally, he and Victoria came together. Chapter 5. holding Victoria in his arms. He glanced at the festive red wedding stickers on the door, lowered his head, and kissed her forehead. Then he threw away the guide to climbing up. No use for it anymore. Later, his moon fell into his arms, and never left again. Oliver's profile: cold, aloof, arrogant yet pure-hearted lover. Top-tier love brain, model good man class leader. Willing to be a side lover for love. Height 190 centimeters. 8-pack abs. V-line. Drew up a side lover plan to win his wife. Sole heir of the Chin family in City A. Wealthy beyond measure. Champion in sailing. Champion in racing clubs. Born at the top of the pyramid. Unrequited love was the only suffering he ever knew. Loves only one woman in his life. Defies moral conventions. Waited patiently. And when he discovered her husband's infidelity, he struck without hesitation. Endured inner guilt. Debased himself willingly, all just for his wife. Darling, I'm better than him. I'll love you for a lifetime. Story 2. The New Year holiday was over, and my boyfriend, back from his hometown, asked me out for dinner. Suddenly, I heard his inner thoughts. You idiot simp of a woman. Do you really think I love you? I'm just after your money. Sweet talking you for it. Oh, so, you're after my money? Good. Not only will I make you cough up every penny you've taken from me, but I'll also make sure you lose everything and end up in jail. Chapter 1. The New Year holiday was over, and everyone was returning to work and school. My boyfriend Pablo came back from his hometown and asked me out for dinner, saying he had bought me a gift. I was excited and even bought him a new LV belt and the latest model phone. I waited for over an hour in the cold wind with my bag in hand before Pablo finally rushed over. He hugged me and kissed me on the cheek, saying, "Sweetheart, the traffic was terrible. Have you been waiting long?" All the frustration I had felt while waiting instantly melted away. Just as I was about to speak, I heard another voice, so disgusting. "It's like kissing a pig." I froze, looking up in shock, only to see Pablo wiping his mouth with a tissue. Then, I heard another voice. I had to comfort this idiot woman, and now poor Sophia had to take a taxi home. I wonder if she even managed to get a cab. Sophia? Sophia? What's going on? Pablo's so-called gift was nothing more than a single rose and a cheap, small lipstick in the color of deathly Barbie pink. "My love, this flower symbolizes my undying love for you," Pablo said, handing me the rose while casually reaching for the LV bag and the phone in my hand. He smiled widely at the sight of the luxury bags. At the same time, I heard another voice. "Good thing I got Sophia some skincare products and a free lipstick sample. Otherwise, I would have had to spend money on this pig. Seriously, she doesn't even know her place. Thank God for the LV and the new iPhone, or this would be unbearable." If this had been in the past, when Pablo reached out to take the gift I bought him, I would have handed it over without a second thought. But today, after hearing his inner thoughts, I couldn't help but hide the bag behind my back. I smiled and said, "Sweetheart, do you think you can fool me with just a lipstick sample?" I saw Pablo's expression freeze for a moment, but he quickly recovered and gave me a flattering smile, saying he just liked my natural look. He added that makeup was bad for the skin and not good for my health. Of course, I heard his inner thoughts again, filled with nothing but curses. I clenched my fist, really wanting to slap him hard across the face. But I held back. Confronting him now would be too easy for this jerk. "No way. You're taking me to a fancy dinner," I said, pointing to a Japanese restaurant across the street. "Camila, sushi is raw, and the internet says it might have parasites. How about we get some steak instead?" Pablo suggested. "Ha." I laughed coldly inside. I knew he didn't like sushi, but did he not know I didn't eat steak? I headed straight for the sushi place, and Pablo had no choice but to follow. Of course, I heard his inner thoughts again, still full of profanity. I really couldn't believe that this supposedly refined and elegant man had such a filthy mind. Worse than a street vendor's foul-mouthed tirade. Still, no matter how nasty his thoughts were, I wasn't going to say a word. I would pretend not to know. What I wanted to figure out now was why Pablo, who didn't even like me, had pursued me in the first place. Once we were seated at the sushi restaurant, I started ordering salmon, peony shrimp, sea urchin, and more. After ordering a good amount, I acted as if I had suddenly remembered him and asked, "What would you like?" "Just some fried rice," Pablo said. I smiled brightly, while his inner voice sneered, "Eat, eat, eat. Pigs don't even eat as much as you. You're going to eat yourself to death." As I enjoyed my salmon, I casually asked, "Pablo, do you love me?" "Of course, darling," Pablo said confidently, his expression perfectly matched to his words, though there was a hint of disdain in his eyes. His inner voice said, "I'd rather like a pig than like you." "So, what exactly do you like about me?" I asked on purpose. "I like everything about you," Pablo said, his inner voice, "I'm only interested in your family's money." "You idiot. Once we're married and you eat yourself to death, I'll inherit everything." The chopsticks in my hand clattered to the ground with a loud clink, and my heart seemed to skip a beat. I had already known he was a scumbag after hearing his inner thoughts, but I hadn't expected his goal was to kill me and inherit my family's wealth. As I bent down to pick up my chopsticks, I heard his inner voice again, "She's eating like this, with that heart-clearing tea working its magic. I won't have to wait 10 years. Chapter 2. Heart-clearing tea? My mind roared as the realization hit me. This was the beauty tea that Pablo had given me, claiming it was a special product from his hometown. He said drinking it regularly would make my skin smooth and fair. I had believed him, drinking it every night, and my weight, it shot up. Originally, I wasn't very overweight. In high school, I had gained a little during the pandemic, dealing with stress from school, but with my height of 168 centimeters, 5 feet 6 inches, my weight hovered around 130 pounds, and thanks to my well-proportioned figure, I still looked quite balanced. Then, after starting my relationship with Pablo and drinking his heart-clearing tea, my weight skyrocketed, shooting up to 154 pounds. I gripped the chopsticks tightly. At that moment, the waiter hurried over and graciously replaced my chopsticks. After we had almost finished the meal, I excused myself to go to the bathroom and told Pablo to wait. Instead, I grabbed my things and left. Half an hour later, Pablo called me, and I answered with a cheerful tone. "Darling, it's the new year, and you bought me a single rose and a tiny lipstick sample. Who knows if it was just a freebie with something else you bought? Did you really expect me to pay for the meal?" With that, I hung up. I had liked Pablo since high school, just like it's written in books. Love came out of nowhere, and I fell deeply. It seemed like the first moment of excitement happened when I saw him running around the basketball court. His tall figure in the sunlight looked like it was bathed in a golden glow. Sunshine, handsome, those were the labels that defined him. I fell for him instantly. One day, I found an opportunity and secretly slipped him a love letter, then ran away, feeling shy. From that day on, I eagerly waited for his reply, hoping to see him in the hallways or on the playground, where every glance made my heart race. But by the end of high school, I still hadn't received a reply. Later, we both ended up at the same university, and I thought it must have been fate. Of course, since he hadn't replied to my letter in high school, I wasn't going to confess again. During our freshman year, he confessed his love to Sophia. Since they were dating, I put away all my feelings and stopped paying attention to him, even though Sophia was in my dorm, and I heard all sorts of news about him. I pretended not to care. After dating for about 6 months, Pablo and Sophia had a big argument and broke up. About a month after their breakup, Pablo came to me and confessed his feelings. At that time, I was thrilled. He spoke to me with such affection. "Darling, back in high school, I received your love letter, but I was so focused on my studies that I didn't have the chance to reply. When we got to university, he claimed that he got distracted by Sophia and almost missed his chance with me. As he said this, he embraced me and whispered, 'Thankfully, I came to my senses. Otherwise, missing out on you would have been the biggest regret of my life.' I was deeply touched at the time. Not long after we started dating, he gave me a specialty called Tongshin cha and emphasized that it was a rare specialty from his hometown, grown on cliffs, with a very limited supply. He even warned me not to share it with anyone else. Of course, I believed him. What I didn't realize was how devious and cruel this man could be, planning to slowly harm me with something that seemed harmless but was secretly designed to make me gain weight and ruin my health. No wonder that every time we met, he insisted on buying me milk tea, sweets, and fried snacks, everything high in calories. When I returned home, Sophia was there to open the door for me. I owned a place in the city, and when the school break started, Sophia had come to me in tears, claiming that her family favored boys so much that her mother, after giving birth to a second son, left no place for her at home. She said she wasn't going back and begged me to let her stay for the winter break. She promised she'd do the housework to pay for her rent, but after she moved in, all she did was hide in her room, live streaming her dances and songs, causing the neighbors to complain to me multiple times. Housework? I did some, and the cleaning lady did the rest. I hadn't seen Sophia lift a finger. One time, after dinner, I asked her to wash the dishes. She replied that she had just gotten her nails done for over 300 yuan. That's when I caught a whiff of the perfume she was wearing, the very same one Pablo had asked me to buy at the end of last year. Ha! So that's who it was for, his little lover. Why are you back so early? I thought you were going to have dinner and see a movie, Sophia asked as I changed my shoes. I responded casually, Sophia, the holidays are over, and today's the 8th day of the new year. It's a good day. Time for you to move out. Sophia's mouth formed an O shape. Chapter 3. I looked at Sophia's expression and wanted to laugh. Sophia, don't blame me. You know, my boyfriend came back, and when he found out you were staying at my place, he got a little upset. I said deliberately, when I got back. I calculated the time Sophia had been staying at my place, and when Pablo returned, he first went on a date with her. Afraid I'd find out, he arranged for me to meet him at a designated place, where I waited in the cold for an hour and a half, while he used that time to go on a date with Sophia. Now, my plan was twofold. First, to drive Sophia away. Second, to stir up trouble between the two of them to vent some anger. After all, you are his ex-girlfriend, I said, spreading my hands. As soon as I opened my mouth to send her away, Sophia didn't put up much resistance. She started packing her things, not forgetting to live stream at the same time. Kicked out by my nasty landlord on the 8th day of the new year. Moving out. I wasn't on camera, but I made sure my voice was loud enough for everyone in her live stream to hear. Sophia, you've been living at my place for a month and a half, eating my food, using my things, and not paying a penny in rent. How exactly am I a nasty landlord? Sophia clearly didn't expect me to follow her into the room. Camila, this is my room, Sophia said, her face turning sour. This is my home, I sneered, glancing at her suitcase. Wow, the nerve she has. My LV bag, my skincare set, perfume, lipstick. She had been using these while she was here, but now she was planning to pack them all up and take them with her? I immediately told her to leave behind everything that belonged to me. You've been freeloading off my things while staying here. Fine, but now you're packing them to take with you? Shouldn't you just pack me up and take me too? I teased in a sarcastic tone. The live stream chat blew up, with comments flying by, most of them saying, "What's going on? Isn't that Sophia's stuff? Oh my god, using someone else's lipstick? Isn't that gross?" Of course, I would never use anything Sophia had touched. In the past, if she wanted something, I would generously give it to her. But now, she wouldn't even get to take a single tissue pack from me. Sophia quickly ended the live stream. Her face twisted like everyone owed her 5 million. She finished packing and dragged her suitcase to the door. Sophia, take off the clothes you're wearing. I cleared my throat and said. Sophia glanced down at her clothes. It was from Chanel. Since I couldn't fit into it, she had shamelessly claimed it as her own. Her face darkened, and after a moment of hesitation, she forced a smile and said, "Camila, you can't wear it anyway, so why not just give it to me?" I smiled sweetly and shook my head. Nope. It's better we draw clear boundaries from now on. Watching her gritting her teeth as she angrily took off the clothes and threw them at me, I smiled and kindly reminded her, "It's quite cold outside. You know." Less than half an hour after Sophia left, Pablo suddenly called me. TSK. Couldn't wait. Could he? The show was just getting started. Camila, in this freezing weather, why did you kick Sophia out? Pablo's voice carried a hint of reproach. I deliberately asked. How do you know? Are you still tangled up with her? What do you take me for? Before he could respond, I continued. If your heart aches for her, go ahead and chase after her. Don't bother with me. With that, I hung up the phone. I used to like Pablo very much, always treating him with the utmost care, treasuring this hard-won love. But after hearing his true intentions, knowing that he pursued me for my money, I realized that no matter what I did, he would never give up on the big prize he thought he was about to claim. Chapter 4. About 10 minutes later, Pablo called again. I didn't answer. In the past, there were plenty of times he didn't answer my calls, left me hanging, sweet-talked me into buying him this and that, and even made me transfer money or send him red envelopes. Now, I'm just giving him a taste of his own medicine. This apartment of mine is on the top floor, and there's a loft upstairs. I ran up there and started doing workout videos for weight loss. Losing weight needs to start today, not tomorrow. And as a girl, who doesn't want to look good? I weigh over 150 pounds and was often mocked at school, called fat. I've tried all kinds of diets and weight loss methods, but nothing worked. After doing the workout for half an hour, I was drenched in sweat. My legs and arms were sore, but surprisingly, I felt light and refreshed. I turned to glance at my phone, and Pablo had called twice more. I continued pretending I didn't see it, leaving him hanging. After I showered, Pablo called again. This time, I answered. Sweetheart, don't be mad. I'm just checking in as an old friend. That's all. Besides, with you living alone in such a big apartment, I just worry about you. You know? How about moving in with you? After all, you two are friends. I sneered and said, Pablo, if she was moving out from my place, why would she go to you instead of someone else? Fine, you two carry on. Just don't bother me. With that, I hung up and blocked his number. Of course, I only blocked his calls. I kept him on WeChat. I wanted to see what he'd do next. From what I know about those two, they must be sweet talking each other behind my back right now, probably complaining about who leaked the secret. At around 10 p.m., Pablo showed up at my house with Sophia. Chapter 5. When I opened the door and saw the two of them, I was genuinely surprised. I had imagined all sorts of scenarios, but I didn't think they'd be shameless enough to show up at my door in person. What do you want? I leaned against the doorframe and asked. Pablo tried to hug me, but I pushed him away. I could hear his inner thoughts. Damn, she's really mad. What should I do? He said he wanted to explain everything in person, that he and Sophia had broken up a long time ago. After Sophia left my place, she had nowhere to go. So out of desperation, she messaged him for help. As her ex, you can help her figure something out, I replied. Sophia looked at me with those pitiful eyes, desperately trying to explain that she really had nothing to do with Pablo anymore. She begged me not to misunderstand, saying that since it was just after the new year, school hadn't resumed, and she couldn't get into the student dorms or find a place to rent. She asked me to let her stay for a few more days. Camila, I can clean, do laundry, cook. Please, let me stay for just a few more days. She put on an innocent, pitiful look, her eyes welling up with tears. Next to her, Pablo said that he came personally to explain everything, hoping I wouldn't take it the wrong way. Sorry, but I do mind, I said. With that, I started to close the door. Of course, in that brief moment, I could hear all of Pablo's inner thoughts, filled with curses, and a bit of panic. Yes, he was definitely panicking right now, because Sophia believed what I had told her. After leaving my place, she called him, demanding to know why he let me kick her out and asking if he was thinking of ditching her to chase after me for a better life. Now it was Sophia insisting that he come here and talk to me in person. Sophia even gave an ultimatum: either Pablo books her a 5-star hotel tonight, or she moves back into my place. Moving back here? That's absolutely not happening. I looked at Sophia with a mocking smile and asked her, "Don't you feel awkward living with your ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend? Or are you really so broke that you need your ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend to support you? Aren't you supposed to be playing the rich heiress role in your live stream? Don't let that persona fall apart." A while ago, when Sophia was staying here and streaming, of course, I watched her streams. She shamelessly took photos all over my apartment, flaunting my luxury items online, claiming they were hers. She never cared whether I'd mind or not. In the end, Sophia's pride couldn't handle my mockery, and she turned around, dragging her suitcase as she left. Pablo glanced at me, then at her, hesitating about whether to follow her. I closed the door, making the choice for him. Then, through the door, I heard his inner thoughts, "Damn it, I'll deal with this stupid B*** later." I sneered, "Ha, who's going to deal with who is still up in the air?" Chapter 6. An hour later, Sophia posted on her social media that she had checked into a 5-star hotel. I laughed. Just as I expected, it's easy to go from frugal to lavish, but hard to go back. During the time she stayed with me, she always sweet-talked her way into using my things, eating my food, wearing my clothes, and helping herself to my belongings, from small items like skincare samples to bigger things like bags. By the end of last year, she had moved into my place, getting used to the spacious bedroom, the walk-in closet, and the huge bathroom, spoiling herself with a life of luxury. Now, Pablo wants her to stay in an ordinary hotel, but she's not used to it. She can't help but compare herself to me, always trying to one-up me. How long will Pablo's allowance last her? A whole week went by without me making any moves, but I had ramped up my workout intensity. I have to lose weight. I'm not aiming to be super skinny, but I need to get back to a healthy size. I had originally gotten a gym membership and used to go running occasionally, but people tend to be lazy. Pablo used to tell me that girls with a little extra weight are cute. Sophia would flatter me, saying I didn't look chubby at all, that my skin was great, and my facial features were perfect, which made me drift through life, never once considering my own issues. Now, I've had a sudden realization I need to lose weight. For the past week, I've practically lived at the gym, running, doing yoga, and following all the tasks my personal trainer assigned. Every day, I'd break into a sweat several times. The first 2 days, I could barely lift my legs. But after cutting out sugary drinks and intense workouts combined with controlled eating, my weight started dropping fast. The pants I bought during the new year no longer fit around my waist. I stepped on the scale, over 10 pounds lost. I was shocked. It's true, nothing is impossible if you set your mind to it. Of course, during this week, Pablo had messaged me several times, but I ignored him. When I felt the timing was right, the luxury jewelry and bags I ordered arrived. After taking some photos, I posted on my social media, showing off a bag and jewelry supposedly gifted by a childhood friend. Sophia liked the post, then quickly disliked it. Pablo asked me where this childhood friend came from. I still didn't respond to him. In the past, he'd always use a tantrum as an excuse, and I'd buy him gifts to smooth things over, terrified of losing our love. Now that I think about it, it's utterly ridiculous. Now, knowing his true intentions, I realize that no matter how much drama I cause, he won't give up so easily, especially after he's already gotten the benefits. As expected, by the evening, Pablo came looking for me, but this time, the security guard stopped him at the entrance. A few days ago, I had specifically asked the security to notify me before letting any visitors through. "Pablo, tell him to go back. I don't want to see him," I said directly. On the other end, I could hear Pablo grabbing the phone from the guard, shouting, "Sweetheart, don't be like this. We must have some misunderstanding. Let's talk in person." I hesitated deliberately before agreeing, but instead of inviting him to my place, I suggested meeting at a nearby cafe. I took my time changing clothes and doing my makeup, dragging it out for about an hour before finally heading out. In the past, he was always late to our dates, making me wait every time. It wasn't until I accidentally overheard his inner thoughts last time that I realized he was doing it on purpose. Apparently, he'd read some social literature that said playing hard to get is the key to flirting. Since he enjoys playing hard to get, why not let him experience it himself? Chapter 7. When I arrived at the cafe, I noticed that Pablo's gaze seemed different, like he was seeing me in a new light. Up close, I could hear his inner thoughts again. Damn, why does she suddenly look prettier? How did she lose so much weight? Did she stop drinking that tea? I smirked internally and called the waiter, ordering coffee and a few pastries. Only then did I ask him, "What do you want to talk about?" Pablo smiled apologetically and started explaining the situation with Sophia over and over. "Camila, I only helped her because you two are friends. I didn't want you to lose a good friend because of me. There's absolutely nothing between us." I raised my hand to cut him off and told him that a friend of mine had seen him on a date with Sophia. As I spoke, I pulled out the lipstick he had given me from my bag and tossed it to him. I asked around. "This sample is only given when you purchase a gift set at the counter. You gave her the set and gave me the leftover lipstick?" "Pablo, don't make me say something unpleasant." As I said this, I deliberately showed off my new Chanel bag. Pablo's face turned from green to red, and his inner thoughts were filled with curses, some of them really nasty. To my surprise, this time, he wasn't just cursing at me, he was cursing at Sophia too. "Camila, listen to me." Pablo suddenly hugged me, even trying to kiss me, but I pushed him away. Then, I pulled out my phone and sent him a message. Pablo quickly opened it. "For the Lantern Festival. I want this. My friends already have it." I said bluntly. "Pablo, my mom came to visit me during the new year, and she's really not satisfied with you." With that, I grabbed my bag and walked out. I heard Pablo's inner voice, "Damn it. I'll just treat it as an investment." I sneered. "Yeah, I'm just afraid you won't want to invest, right?" The picture I sent him was of a high-end handmade gold jewelry item from a niche brand in China, not too expensive. A little over 50,000. The benefit? It's exclusive. There are no knockoffs on the market. So even if he wanted to fool me with a fake, he couldn't. As for how Pablo's going to come up with the money to buy it, that's not my concern. As I was about to leave, Pablo grabbed my arm and asked me to pay the bill. "Pablo, you're making me pay for this date?" I asked him. "Sweetheart, I didn't bring any money today." Pablo begged in a low voice. "No money?" I deliberately raised my voice. After dating him for over 2 years, I knew exactly what he was like. He's vain, loves to compare himself to others, and his biggest fear is being called poor. "Shoo, sweetheart, keep your voice down." Pablo quickly waved his hands at me, trying to quiet me. "Pablo, cheating on me is bad enough, but you want to negotiate with me and you're too stingy to even buy flowers?" I shook my head and said, "I'll pay the bill, but don't ever come looking for me again." Pablo's inner thoughts were honestly unbearable to listen to, full of curses mixed with dialect from his hometown. I intentionally said, "These days, it's all about paying by scanning QR codes. Who are you trying to fool by saying you didn't bring money?" I leaned in close and whispered to him, "Pablo, don't tell me you can't even afford a cup of coffee? If that's the case, what kind of big shot do you think you are in the dating world? Why don't you go home and study more?" "Of course not." Pablo quickly assured me he had money, and hurried off to pay the bill. Chapter 8. For the Lantern Festival. Pablo smartened up this time and arranged a date with me first. From his inner thoughts, I found out he had also arranged to meet with Sophia. Recently, Sophia had been throwing tantrums at him as well. The plan to use my love for him to take over my family's assets was something he and Sophia had devised together. Now, Sophia was threatening him if he dared to betray her. She would tell me everything about their plan. To avoid losing everything, Pablo was now spending money on both sides to keep us both happy. Of course, Pablo's persona around me was that he came from a wealthy family with farms, 2 pig farms, and a prosperous background. He acted like a proper rich young master. I used to believe him, until I heard his inner thoughts. That's when I realized his hometown was actually poor, and he had a younger brother who couldn't even afford to go to school. The only reason he was able to attend college was that, as a kid, he had some smarts and good looks. A distant uncle took a liking to him and brought him to his home to be a companion for his son. However, by high school, Pablo had picked up some bad habits and fell out with his uncle and cousin. So, From college onward, that distant uncle had washed his hands of him entirely. When he entered college, Pablo didn't focus on learning. Instead, he learned how to compare himself to others, becoming lazy and entitled. His family doesn't have a pig farm. They only have 2 pigs. The weight loss tea he gave me is actually a specialty from his hometown. Meant for pigs, it makes them fat really quickly. I posted the gifts Pablo gave me on social media. But this time, I said it so only 2 people could see it, Sophia and Pablo. I refused to believe Sophia wouldn't cause a fuss with Pablo after seeing that gold and diamond-encrusted jewelry. The great thing about gold is that even if you don't know much about it, you still know it's expensive. That's why I asked Pablo for this gift. I was afraid of niche luxury items that Sophia might not recognize. And Pablo could easily deceive her. 3 days later, I saw on Sophia's social media that she had posted gold and diamond-encrusted jewelry too, but it was clearly a smaller, less expensive version. Over the next few days, Pablo tried his hardest to win me over. As for me, if I was in a good mood, I'd reply to him a bit. If not, I'd pretend not to see his messages, focusing on my workouts and reading. Anyone who has tried to lose weight knows that at the beginning of a weight loss journey, if your workout is intense enough and you control your diet, the pounds drop off quickly. In the second week, I lost only 6 pounds, bringing my weight down to around 133. My personal trainer at the gym told me that my waist and stomach were already slim, and my clothes looked good on me. The focus now was on my thighs. It was going to be a long battle, so I shouldn't rush it. She reassured me, saying that since I'm tall and my waist and stomach are toned, my clothes would look great. Slightly thicker thighs aren't a big deal. I could wear wide leg pants or long skirts. I smiled and said that my goal was to get below 120 pounds. On Valentine's Day, with a little hint from me, Pablo booked a restaurant early, bought 99 roses, and got me an LV bag. It seemed like he was willing to spend a lot this time. From his inner thoughts, I found out that he had taken out an online loan. But that wasn't the main point. The important thing was that he had learned his lesson this time. He bought me a genuine LV bag, while Sophia got a knockoff. In the evening, I posted on social media again, along with the LV bag, the flowers, and the high-end restaurant. I added a diamond bracelet, claiming it was a gift from my boyfriend. Pablo didn't look too happy. I intentionally said to him, "Look at you, being so stingy. It's just a regular bag." And my friends would laugh at me for this. If my mom finds out my boyfriend is this cheap, she'd definitely say, "If a man can't even spend money on you while dating, it's clear he doesn't love you." I poked his forehead with my finger and said, "I'm doing this to help you save face. You know." I heard Pablo's inner voice, "Damn it. I should have just stuck with this woman from the start. How the hell do I get rid of that idiot Sophia? Weird. Why am I realizing now that Camila is prettier than Sophia?" I chuckled. Back when I first started school, my grandmother told me, "These days, it's not safe for girls to dress up too nicely. Camila, you need to know how to keep a low profile." I thought she made a lot of sense, so I purposely dressed in a plain, old-fashioned way. Plus, I was chubby, which made me look both old-fashioned and overweight. Now, I've deliberately put effort into my appearance. With my naturally great skin and striking facial features, I was looking my best. Today, I wore a white knitted long dress with a red belt to highlight my slim waist. My hair was down, and I paired the outfit with expensive ruby earrings, adding a splash of color. "Want to watch a movie?" I asked Pablo. He looked at me and nodded eagerly. TSK. Did he forget he had also planned to see a movie with Sophia? Less than 30 minutes into the movie, Pablo's phone started ringing non-stop. He went out twice to take the calls. His inner thoughts were full of curses, directed at Sophia. Later, he outright blocked Sophia. When the movie ended and we stepped out of the theater, I spotted Sophia in the crowd, her face cold and looking extremely displeased. I knew Pablo and Sophia had planned to see a movie at this theater. I could hear his inner thoughts. I had intentionally timed everything perfectly, just to bump into Sophia. Chapter 9. Pablo tried to pretend he didn't see her, but I deliberately walked over and called out loudly, "Sophia, are you here to watch a movie too?" When she saw me, Sophia shot Pablo a glare and forced a slightly awkward smile as she greeted me. I looked at the LV bag she was holding, leaned in close, and sneered. Even if I didn't agree to lend you my bag, you didn't have to buy a fake one to show off. Did you? Look at this. It's not even a good replica, the stitching is crooked. With that, I waved for Pablo to follow me, and we walked away. Pablo's inner voice was hilarious, filled with curses, at me, at Sophia, and at the lousy knockoff seller. He was wondering why they couldn't make a better fake. TSK. What do you expect for $300? Besides the stitching, the color and pattern were all wrong. If Sophia took a closer look at home, she'd figure it out too. I bet Pablo wouldn't have a good night tonight. Sure enough, after dropping me off at the entrance to my building, he hurried off. From that distance, I couldn't hear his inner thoughts, but I could imagine Pablo's night wasn't going to be pleasant. And I was right. When I saw him the next day, his eyes were dark and puffy, and his voice was hoarse. After Valentine's Day, school started again. Pablo came to me asking to borrow money, saying it was for tuition. His excuse was that all his money was tied up in funds and stocks, so he needed me to lend him some cash to tide him over for a few days. He promised to pay me back soon. I thought about it seriously for a moment and agreed, but I made him write an IOU. Sweetheart, we really need a written note? Pablo asked, clearly not pleased. Even with family, you settle accounts clearly, I replied. If he didn't agree, that was fine by me. With that, I turned to leave, left with no choice. Pablo wrote the IOU. I casually remarked, you must have made a good profit from those funds and stocks if you've even put your tuition money into them, right? He mumbled a vague response. Don't forget to buy me a gift for Women's Day, I said, holding my head high. My childhood friend studying abroad is coming back, so don't make me lose face. Pablo's expression darkened. After the school term started, I naturally ran into Sophia every day. We're in the same dorm, after all, but I hadn't been staying in the dorm much since I have an apartment nearby. Now, I started staying in the dorm a few nights here and there. Originally, when Pablo asked me for money, he never hesitated. It started with a few hundred, then a few thousand. Eventually, during holidays and festivals, if I didn't transfer five-figure amounts, he'd throw a tantrum. I used to be so in love that I never questioned it, always relying on my wealth, thinking I could buy love. I never imagined it was all just a joke. The greed of men knows no bounds. Once they get something for nothing, their appetite only grows. Not only did Pablo take my money to live the rich young master lifestyle, but he also used it to support other women. Recently, I listed all my expenses from the 2 years I'd been with Pablo. Just the money I transferred and the red envelopes amounted to over 300,000 yuan. And that doesn't even include the expensive gifts he coaxed me into giving him, both openly and secretly. Without my financial support, Sophia's rich girl persona couldn't hold up anymore. In the dorm, she'd always carried herself like a spoiled heiress, which didn't win her many friends. Now, people finally had their chance to mock her, saying things like, "Did your family go bankrupt? Can't afford Chanel anymore? Sophia, do you wear the same pair of shoes all year?" And others said, "Sophia, this outfit is so terrible. I wouldn't be caught dead in it. How can you even wear it?" Lately, Pablo has been clinging to me more than ever. From his inner thoughts, I found out he's planning how to dump Sophia and settle down with me for good. It's exactly as I suspected. These two were in it together. But the slightest storm has their ship sinking. Chapter 10. For Women's Day, Pablo really splurged. He bought me a bracelet and took me out to dinner. Then, he started subtly probing about my family's wealth. I half-jokingly, half-seriously told him, my parents are divorced, so they divided their assets early on. As for me, I don't have that much money, just a little over $1 billion. I watched as his face filled with shock. He asked, "Is all that money yours alone?" I nodded, pretending it was no big deal, and said, "My grandfather says I studied literature, so I won't be able to make money. He's planning to give me a building in Haicheng so I can just live off the rental income. My dad remarried, so I won't get much from him. I don't have any inheritance rights to the family business, at most. I'll get 2 companies. As for my grandmother's side, they'll probably leave me some property and savings. I shrugged. That's about it. What about you, Pablo? He stammered and mumbled, claiming his family has 2 factories. But it was clear even he wasn't convinced by his own story. I smiled and started painting a grand picture for him, telling him that after graduation, I'll just focus on writing. No need to find a job. Now that the pandemic is over, I'm planning to travel the world, taking in the sights as I go. As the elders say, reading thousands of books is no better than traveling thousands of miles. I added with a smile, my dad wants me to marry into another wealthy family. There have been a few matchmakers approaching him lately, but we'll see. At this point, I shrugged again. Darling. No. Pablo became flustered and quickly asked, don't you love me anymore? University romances are all about fleeting moments. I said with a laugh, Pablo, don't take it too seriously. As long as we're having fun now, that's all that matters. Who really expects a university romance to turn into marriage? After dinner, I insisted on paying the bill. Pablo's inner thoughts were pretty amusing. He was silently gritting his teeth, swearing to himself that he absolutely had to win me over so he wouldn't have to worry about money for the rest of his life. Now, he no longer wanted to get rid of me and run off with Sophia. Instead, he was eager to use me as his ticket to climb into high society. He made up his mind. Tonight, he was going to be honest with Sophia and break up with her. After getting home, I fully charged my phone and kept an eye on Sophia's social media and her live stream. With such an exciting turn of events, I really didn't want to miss anything. But by midnight, everything was quiet. I was a bit confused, wondering if I had misread the situation. Could it be that Pablo, that scumbag, actually managed to convince Sophia to agree to break up? In theory, that seemed impossible, right? Recently, not only had he racked up online loans, but Sophia's credit card was also overdue. At 11 p.m., I went to bed. I figured that by the time I got to school the next day, I could gather some clues from Pablo's inner thoughts. Early the next morning, I was woken up by my phone ringing. When I answered, it was the police. They asked if I was available to answer some questions. From the police, I learned that Pablo and Sophia had gotten into a huge argument last night. Pablo had told her that I was his true love and suggested they break up. Sophia threatened him, saying she'd agree to the breakup only if he gave her 1 million yuan. And if he didn't, she would reveal the truth about the weight loss tea to me. The argument escalated, and in a fit of rage, Pablo grabbed a fruit knife and threatened her. During the struggle, Sophia kicked Pablo in the groin and was about to call me to expose everything. Furious, Pablo slashed Sophia's face with the fruit knife and stabbed her in the abdomen. Sophia's cries for help alerted her roommate, who called the police. The police arrived quickly, took Sophia to the hospital for emergency treatment, and arrested Pablo. Because of their statements, I was also dragged into the situation. The police asked if I could provide a sample of the weight loss tea so they could test it for the effects Sophia had mentioned. I pretended to be confused and asked the officers, didn't they say they already broke up? Everyone at school knew about it. Why were they still entangled? The police spoke to me seriously, advising me not to flaunt my wealth in public. In this day and age, it's dangerous to attract thieves. And look at this, they had plotted to take my life. The breakup was just a facade. Chapter 11. The weight loss tea was tested and confirmed to cause weight gain, along with having mild toxicity that could lead to an accelerated heart rate and palpitations. In other words, long-term consumption could indeed result in death. The police told me I could press charges or settle privately with a letter of understanding. How could I possibly settle privately? Of course, I pressed charges. I hired a top-tier lawyer and took both Pablo and Sophia to court. The stab wound Sophia suffered in her abdomen injured her uterus. The doctor said she might never be able to have children. Of course, what concerned her the most wasn't her abdomen, but her once prized face, which was now permanently disfigured. Her family was of modest means, with a younger brother at home, and her parents were indifferent toward her. They refused to pay for her reconstructive surgery. So, she also sued Pablo, demanding compensation. Meanwhile, Pablo's online loans had been overdue for a while. When the lenders found out he'd been arrested, They realized they wouldn't even get back the principal, let alone the interest. So they sued him too. Thanks to solid evidence and the fact that I had an excellent lawyer, Sophia was sentenced to 1.5 years, while Pablo was sentenced to 7 years. After Pablo's sentencing, I could no longer hear his inner thoughts. I knew that from then on, we had no connection whatsoever. Chapter 12 Epilogue. Both Pablo and Sophia were sent to prison and expelled from school. I stopped drinking the weight loss tea and, combined with exercise and diet control, maintained a healthy weight of around 110 pounds. I didn't go overboard trying to get thinner. Many people told me I was beautiful now, and even some of the best guys at school pursued me. The rest of my university life was filled with joy. However, I was torn between two decisions. Should I pursue love and marriage or focus on grad school? It's such a dilemma.